Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, this is Anna and welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interview Samantha Cameron. Sam is a mum of 5 and married to her hubby, Rich. And for over 5 years, she's helped business owners with their social media through her social media agency coaching and training. But in March 2021, Sam and her family's lives were turned upside down when her son, Beau, 10 at the time, became very ill and stopped walking, talking and eating overnight. For 18 months, Sam became Beau's full-time carer as well as juggling her business. And in August last year, Beau was diagnosed with a rare, life-threatening mental health condition called PAWS. The last 18 months has been one hell of a journey for them as a family, and they've been working on Beau's recovery as well as healing themselves. You're going to love this episode. Sam is a really inspiring lady, and I know you're going to love this. So, hi Sam, it's great to have you on the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's nice to have a fellow Brit actually on the show, because recently we've had quite a few from the US, although I did have a lady recently from the UK. But I love how I've done this podcast, because it's great. I feel like I'm just sat in a coffee shop or in a wine bar chatting. It never really feels like work, but it's great to have you on the show, because I know we've not known each other that long. We've known each other a lot.
No, only a few months, haven't we? So.
Yeah, exactly. And I put this podcast together to be sharing stories. And I know you've got, a really, really like impactful life story really to share with all the listeners. But most importantly, I talk about my 3 pillars a lot on this podcast. And these 3 pillars are the things that have helped me get equilibrium really in my life from my journey. And of course, it's called the Freedom Podcast. And when I put this podcast together, it was all like, I didn't know whether to call it freedom. I kept coming back to this freedom word because, we see all these like marketeers, don't we, online saying, you can get freedom in 30 days. So I didn't want to get this like financial connotation with it. But I just kept coming back to it because I think the word freedom sort of really impacts me in my journey. But I talk about the 3 pillars, and one is freedom in love, which is around self-care really and self-love. Because I think with me, when I wasn't looking after myself and I was that, single parent mum, helping my kids and just neglecting myself, the seesaw balance was a little bit wrong. And then freedom in money, because money is important, because if we haven't got any, that gives a lot of stress. And then freedom in mind, because I talk a lot about Fred in the head, because Fred in the head can, make us overanalyze, get in the way, prevent us from doing things, affect our beliefs and all sorts of different things. So those have been the 3 things that I've really focused on my journey. And as I say, have given me sort of equilibrium. And I know nothing's perfect. My life's not perfect now. Like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I've hardly done any I have this routine of a bath at the end of the evening to wind myself down. And if I've just had a quick shower, I feel like I've missed out. I'm not looking after myself. So, we all have days where we've not eaten as well as we should have and things like that. So I just wanted to ask you, because I know I wanted you to share the journey that you've been on in the last few years, but whether any of those sort of resonated with you.
Massively. And I think, each time you said each one, it was like, oh my God, yeah, I had to work out how I was going to do that and do this and look at doing that. And with what I went through, and not just me, but the family, self-care was a huge one. Because caring for Beau full time for such a long time, that was really difficult. There were days where I just wouldn't even get a shower because I didn't have time. And people would say, oh, do you want to come out for a coffee? I couldn't even do that. So self-care is something that I'm really, really find important, and I do make that point now of having that self-care. And even if it's just sitting drinking a cup of tea without anybody bothering me, it can be anything, but I think it's really important every day to have that self-care.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think it is, because it's like we talk about self-care and we think, oh, it's what every 3 months going on a spa day, don't we? When actually it should be like a daily thing, even if, like you say, it is just, I try and do this daily walk. I've only managed it once this week. But, it just does you a world of good, just going out for a 20-minute, half an hour walk, doesn't it? Or like you say, just having a coffee and just being away from the laptop. Just doing, it's the small things, or reading a magazine for a little bit that you feel like not read like Women's Own for years, something. Just doing things that is sort of like just a bit of time out and headspace out. It's so important, and it's really made me like prioritize it a lot more, because you start thinking, well, what's the point in this world or in this life of if you're not going to actually have a bit of time out? Because obviously it's just, otherwise you're just on this treadmill, aren't you, all the time, and you're not relaxed, your body's not relaxing. So especially being mums as well, because I'm mum of 5, so it's like mum of 5. I didn't know you were mum of 5. Wow. It's like kids, hubby, animals, house, and then it's you, isn't it? So it's really important to make sure that you are putting yourself kind of high up as much as you possibly can, even if it is for that 20 minutes a day when you're just going for a walk, and just having that headspace, just to think about and clear your head of what you've got to do, because you're constantly doing things, and even though now Beau is working on his recovery and getting better, I still have to take him to appointments, follow up with appointments. I find, I was just talking to someone earlier today, I said, I feel like my son's PA. If I actually, it's a good job I do work for myself, because if I worked for anyone else, I wouldn't be able to hold a job down. Yeah. For them kind of like, oh, I need to go and do this, I need to get out. No. It is. So explain to the listeners then what, the sort of journey you've been on with Beau, because with Beau, there might be somebody. What is also about this podcast, I started having, when it was first launched, all your friends and all your community support you. And you never really know, do you, when you get that feedback from people But then when you start getting complete strangers that you've never met reach out to you, thanking you for putting the podcast together, it really means a lot. And, there may be someone listening who could be going through something similar. It might not be the same, but could be going through something similar. And I just think it just really does help people get through those times, really. Yeah, so our journey started, well, actually 2 years ago. We started to notice a difference in Beau. Beau's our 4th child. At the time he was 10. Has learning difficulties from speech and language, struggling to read and write. But to look at him, you wouldn't think anything was different, anything different from him. And loving boy, so caring, outgoing, clown, fun, just absolutely beautiful boy, hence the white name Beau. And then in December, one morning, early December, I was walking him to school, and he started complaining of chest pains, and he was saying that felt like someone was stabbing him. So we rushed him down to A&E. A&E said, after doing some checks, he's fine. It might just be reflux, so give him some, have some Calpol. It might be this, it might be that. And I'm sure after a couple of days, he'll be fine. And then this was on the Friday. And then on the Sunday, he couldn't walk upstairs. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't walk upstairs. So we literally rang 999, and they sent an ambulance to us. The paramedics said, look, A&E is absolutely rammed. We'll do as much as we can here. And then if we feel we need to take him in, we'll take him in. So they were here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And they did lots of checks. And this was during COVID as well. Wow. So kind of had all of that stress. And they just said, look, we actually think it's reflux. We think, and I was like, he's not had reflux since he was a baby. He's not had it, so that's fine. So they said, look, Gaviscon, give him that, and then in the morning, go to the doctor to see if you can get anything stronger. So we followed up with the doctors. Doctors gave us a prescribed reflux, and then so this was on the Monday, and then on the Wednesday, he started complaining that he had stomachache and was being sick. So we took him back into A&E. A&E thought he had appendicitis. He got admitted onto the children's ward. They ran tests. It wasn't appendicitis, but they said, look, we'll keep him in and do some tests and see what it is.
And we were discharged 3 days later, and he was diagnosed with costochondritis. So for those that don't know what that is, that's inflammation to the sternum and the chest wall. It's really common in adults, and an adult will describe it as if they're having a heart attack 24/7. So you can imagine what a child must feel like. So I did lots of research. I got in contact with a guy that lives in New Zealand that specialises in it, and he started working with me and Beau with exercises and trying to see how we could kind of relieve this pain for him. Then Christmas came, and Beau wouldn't even get up on Christmas Day. It was lockdown Christmas. He wouldn't open any presents. He wanted to stay in bed all day, and it was just kind of like, this isn't right. Yeah. Then we got to end of January, beginning of February, and Steve, the guy that I've been working with the Costa, he said, look, he should be making a recovery, but he's deteriorating. I can see he's losing weight. He's not himself. He's becoming, quite in on himself. At the time, schools weren't open, but because Beau had an ECHP, he could go to school. He would go to school, complain he was in pain, and school just said, look, we don't know what to do because he's literally in tears because of the pain. So school were worried about him because he'd stopped eating. This was in February, beginning of February. And Steve had picked up, look, Sam, he's lost a hell of a lot of weight. And I just said, look, he's not eating or drinking. He said, you need to get him into A&E. So we rang A&E. Well, we rang the ambulance service again, because I knew that was the quickest way to get him in. Literally get him in an ambulance. So I rang the ambulance, and they were, he'd lost a stone literally in a week. We were admitted again. So this was the third time. No, this was the third time we'd been admitted. And because the other time we'd been admitted, he'd been throwing up blood, and we were in for 4 or 5 days, and they just said to us, no, it's all in his head, there's nothing wrong with him. So I discharged ourselves, because I thought, no one's going to tell me. Not when I can see this. And anyway, a month later we were readmitted because of the weight loss, and I just said to them, I'm not leaving until I have answers. I don't care if I'm here indefinitely. I'm not going anywhere until I literally get someone sorting this out for us. So they actually started listening. They had to put Beau on an NG tube, a feeding tube, because he wasn't eating, he wasn't drinking. By this time, he'd stopped walking. He'd also stopped communicating from talking. And the only way he'd communicate with us was through his iPad, typing and using emojis. And we were there for 10 days, and they said, look, we don't know what's wrong, but what we are going to do is we're going to put things in place to help. So when you go home, he shouldn't be on an NG tube for long because his weight's going up. Get him back to eating again, and then he'll start talking again because he'll be happier, and he'll start walking again because they'll have energy, and then you can get him back into school and life will be a-okay, but we'll put some extra support in for you. So I just kind of came home with the view that in 2 weeks' time things would be better. No, things just got worse. Nothing was put in place for us. Beau wouldn't come out of his room. He wasn't walking, he wasn't doing anything. I had to carry him to the toilet. I was feeding him through an NG tube where I had to hold the tube every day. I was spending 8 hours a day feeding him just to keep him alive. And we weren't getting any help from anywhere. And then it was only by chance that the doctors rung just to follow up the hospital admission. And I burst into tears and just said, look, I don't know what to do. Is this my life? I'm not getting any support. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally just feeding him. And she said, well, have you not got a community nurse? I'm like, no. Have you not got, occupational therapist? No, I didn't. Physiotherapist? No. I said, nobody has contacted us about anything. So thankfully our doctors got involved, and they got community nurse, OT involved, physio, and things started to kind of happen from a support point of view. So the nurse came around and said, oh, you can use a pump to do that rather than doing it manually. Great, that's going to save you time. We managed to get a chair device on wheels so we could get him to the toilet, things to help him getting in the bath and bathing him. We got him a hospital bed because it just meant it was easier to get him in and out. We managed to get a wheelchair so that we could, I hadn't been out for a walk for 2 weeks because, and neither had Beau. So that was where we were. And then this was kind of April time, and we were still unsure what was wrong with him, and he just deteriorated more and more. He wouldn't interact with us. He wouldn't interact with any of the family. He wasn't interested in TV. Anything that he wanted to do before all of this happened was non-existent. No, non-existent at all.
And that must have been really difficult to just suddenly see that big change in your child, literally overnight, really.
Yeah. And the worst thing is, I hated him for it because I didn't know why he was doing this. And for me, it was, I didn't know what was wrong with him. So I was just thinking he was doing it. So I hated the fact that I'd been, we lost our boy, 2 years ago, and we didn't get a chance to say goodbye. And he was gone. He was just gone overnight. And all of a sudden we have this child with us that we don't know, we don't understand. And we're having to literally care for him 24/7. And honestly, I mean, I when I say to people must think, oh my God, how could you hate your child? And it's awful. But I didn't love the child that was in that room, and the one that I was caring for. And it was so hard. And then as time went on, I realized that,
especially if you're being told, like, the hospital, the doctor situation is just like, he's not fitting into one of our boxes, basically, is what you were having. Because my previous role, before I did all my online stuff, I worked for the pharmaceutical industry, like healthcare professionals, doctors and nurses were my customers. And so I understand that, these processes and systems that they have, it's very like computer says no, isn't it? Like,
massively, yeah.
And they're all, and also like the whole thing of, oh yeah, you go home and this is what's going to happen. These departments don't speak to each other, and they make these mistakes all the time. It's like, it's so frustrating.
It is.
You didn't have that support. It was like you were just sort of on your own to fight.
Yeah,
basically.
It was, and you do, and don't get me wrong, I love. We call him Beau 2.0. We don't call it him to his face, but we joke and we say this is Beau 2.0 because he isn't us. He's not the boy that we had before. He's a completely different child, and because he doesn't remember anything before becoming poorly, he's had to learn who we are again and trust us. And that trust is, we see that trust being built. It's very similar. I think the only way I can kind of explain it is if you had a foster child, and you get to learn that foster child, and that foster child gets to learn you. And we love Beau 2.0 now. We love him more, just as we did. Unfortunately, Beau and I don't have the same bond as what we did before, but that's something that I've had to get over. And I went through that grieving process.
Also, it kind of does change. Like, I think your relationship with children changes all the time.
Yeah.
The only thing for you saying that, when my youngest was born, I felt like I didn't bond with him. And he was very much like a daddy's boy growing up. But then when we went through the whole split, he then decided to take it all out of me physically. So I had all these bruises all over my legs because he was constantly kicking me. He was just really frustrated with the whole situation. I felt really guilty because obviously it was me that left. And it went on for quite a considerable time. And then I did all these textbook things, you're reading all this stuff online and you're trying everything. I just feel like, even though it's totally different, I'm just like, you just triggered my thought. And now we're really in a total different relationship to what it was even before, when it was good.
Yeah. It's hard. And
it's changed. It's had its real ups and downs. And now there's that understanding. And I think that's what maybe will change still as
every day we see a little bit more of him open up to us, and which is nice. Now he'll let me hug him. He still won't let me kiss him. or he gets funny if I tell him that I love him. But that, you know, that I know that's going to come. And we were really lucky because we had one of the team from CAMS at Northampton General Hospital. He kind of met Beau while we were in hospital on the last occasion, and he kind of invested himself in Beau, and he would keep in regular contact with me. And, you know, when I said, look, we're not getting anywhere, he said, well, let's put a team together and see what we can do. So, you know, every month we'd have a team just to see how we could help. And he started looking, he said, look, why don't we put a referral in for Great Ormond Street Hospital? And I said, you know what, I think that would be a really good idea. So we did. But unfortunately, because of COVID, the referral systems for most hospitals changed. Great Ormond Street Hospital weren't taking any private consults, even NHS referrals. But I was like, no, I want a private consultation. I'm prepared to pay for it, and I want it. And I just wasn't getting anywhere. And literally for 16 days, I rang or emailed Great Ormond Street Hospital until someone would reply to me. And I got this phone call out the blue from one of the doctors from Gosh. And she just said to me, she said, look, I'm really sorry, but I felt that I needed to reach out to you. I've seen the report of, you know, you leaving messages and emailing and trying to get hold of someone. And I just wanted to reach out to you because we have a procedure in place and this is what needs to happen. And once she told me what that was fine, because then I was like, right, that's great, I'll go out and do it. So, and then she said to me, she said, right, give me the contact that you've got at Northampton General, I'll speak to them. So she started speaking to Craig, and Craig kind of messaged me back, and after talking to her, and he said, right, we've got a diagnosis. I went, what do you mean we've got a diagnosis? Said Great Ormond Street Hospital knew exactly what was wrong as soon as I told them. So he was then diagnosed with PAWS, which is Pervasive Arousal Withdrawal Syndrome. It's when the child suffers a trauma, which could be death, an incident, bullying, and the body just decides to shut down. And there's two parts.
Yeah, I think I've heard about it as well, actually.
The brain controls it. So there's a part that says, I don't want you doing this, I don't want you doing that. And then there's a part that says, no, but we need to be doing this and we need to be doing that. Yeah. But this bit takes over, and then it just shuts the whole body down. And it's an 18-month recovery. But Great Ormond Street said to us, look, we'll put you on the waiting list, but you're going to be waiting at least a year, 18 months. But there are 7, so it is a mental health condition. It's a rare mental health condition. It's a life-threatening condition as well. And they said, look, there are 7 hospitals that deal with mental health in children in the UK. I mean, I was shocked when I found out there's only 7. That's just crazy. So we literally reached out to all of them, and then Beau had to go on the list. And then we got a space on the referral list for Manchester, Galaxy House. And then in October, we got a phone call from the Croft over in Cambridge. And they are the only parent-led parent units in the UK. So with Great Ormond Street and Manchester, Beau would have had to go on his own, and then we would have been able to visit once a week for an hour. But with the one in Cambridge, we were allowed to go and live with him. So we got the phone call about this time last year, actually, and they said, you know, we can take you in January. And I was like, great. The only problem was they didn't have physio and they didn't have speech and language, but they did say that they could give us the foundations to start getting a meeting again, and possibly, you know, communicating and back into school. So we decided, great, we'll take a bed in January. We'll go, and we were due to go to Tenerife for a month. And then they literally rang us back that afternoon and said, actually, how quickly can you come in? And we were like, whoa, we're just about to go to Tenerife for a month, but it's not a problem. We can shorten the holiday, because I needed time to come home, because I was going to be living away from home for God knows how long.
You probably really wanted the break. Like, well, give me a week in Tenerife at least. Yeah.
Well, I needed to sort all the kids out, needed to sort Rich out. At this time, Rich had left his job. because I had a full hysterectomy in September following a cancer scare. So he decided to leave his job and take 6 months off because he just couldn't cope with the Beau situation. We lost his mum in the July as well. So last year was just horrendous. Yeah. And on top of all that, I'm trying to juggle my business as well.
Exactly.
And it was just crazy. It was like, oh my God. I mean, thankfully, having a social media business does mean that you can pretty much do it anywhere. But was
still, like, you still got, yeah, exactly.
And I'd managed to juggle it while caring for Beau.
People who are listening to this, though, who could be feeling like say they're at the beginning, where maybe they can relate to it. Maybe it might even be them that has had some kind of health scare and they're not getting the answer, because I think that's one of the frustrating things, isn't it? Where you've not got a kind of solution or an outcome, or even if it's not a solution, just like, this is what some validation that you're not making it up. Because one of my friends went through something a few years ago. She was working as a police officer. She was in a really big accident at work, and she had a doctor say that she was making it all up because she was having all this imbalance in her, when she was walking and stuff, and was trying to say that it was all just in her mind and all this kind of stuff, and that is really upsetting, I think, when you don't get that validation for something. Because also it makes you then feel like going crazy as well. And so is there anything that you could advise? Because obviously for me, listening, it's like I can try and imagine what it feels like. You've been through it. If anyone's going through, whether it's with someone that they love, like their partner or their children, or it's even themselves, and they're in that midst of, they haven't got a solution, or they haven't got an outcome, they haven't got the validation. How would you sort of encourage them to sort of keep going, really?
Oh, just keep going. It doesn't matter, even if you're at your wit's end. I remember every morning I'd wake up and just be thinking, what's going to happen today? How many phone calls have I got to make today? I literally would just be, every minute I had free, I'd be trying to make phone calls, send emails, and you've literally just got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because there will be someone out there that will see what you're going through from a medical professional point of view, and eventually kind of go, actually, I want to help this person. And that's where we were really, really lucky. And we spent 6 months at the hospital, and Beau came off the feeding tube. Beau started to walk again. He got back into school, and now September he's back in school. October, September he went back to school full time, to a new school. He's still not speaking. He won't speak. We don't know why he won't speak, but slowly we are getting him back. But it is about the perseverance, and it does make it is challenging. It really is. I mean, it's challenging on you, it's challenging on your family, it's challenging on your relationship with your partner, because
it tests that, because you might have, we all have slightly different opinions on things as well, don't we?
Yeah.
And also it's like the worry that you both sort of stressed, and then it's like we all react differently to different things, don't we? So it's just that whole combination of, I can imagine it's the whole pressure of everything that it puts on you and other children as well, and everything.
And that's what got us both through it, was having each other. Because I remember the hospital, the Croft, the place that we went to live in, they said to us, we're going to be honest with you now, majority of parents, when they get to the other side of this, don't stay together. So you've got to be prepared to, because they actually offered like family support and counselling, and they said, look, you've got to be prepared to work with us to help you get through that. And I can see why, but if anything, it made us stronger, because we became this team. And they praised us when we left to say, we've never witnessed a couple work so hard, one, to get their son through everything, work with us to help him get through everything, and actually work together as a team to ensure that everything just, family life kind of stayed the same, and there wasn't much disruption for the other kids. And it
that's
is
massive in itself. That is huge in itself. You know, you should be, you know, like really proud. You know that you've managed to be able to do that, and these are the good things that come out of these situations, aren't they? As well? Because it makes you realise then that whatever comes in the future, because if I'm honest with you, when in my old relationship, I remember one of the biggest things that I taught to myself, I was like, if one of my parents dies in the future, which is going to be inevitable, this guy is going to be no support whatsoever. You know, I just knew that where is my backup, you know, and it was things like that I was starting to think about that, you know, which was ridiculous really where my head was going. But I think that's hugely valuable. And you only know by going through something when someone's there for you, don't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to know who your person is. And I think the other thing it taught us as well, it taught us that before all of this was happening, we would just constantly be on this hamster wheel where we were always doing something. So it made us slow down and realise actually, and especially for me, because I was working stupid hours. And when Beau was poorly and I was having to care for him, I was still having to kind of run my business. I mean, I wasn't running it at full capacity. But what I actually learned was that what I was doing, I was earning the same income as what I was before when I was working stupid hours and stupid days.
When you were not being
productive. It kind of made me realise that. And I think now it's that thing of that I've, you know, kind of
you realise the hours or what's priority for your business and what that whole productivity thing, because we can waste loads of time doing unnecessary stuff, can't we? As business owners, I've done that. But yeah, I think all these things, it's like my car broke down. Well, it wasn't my car broke down, my tyre got punctured. And I was on the phone to my mum at the time. She was all panicking, and I was just like, look, it's fine. Me and the boys are going to walk to the sweet shop. By the time we come back, the AA guy will be here. It'll be fixed. Haven't got anything on this evening. What's the drama? Whereas years ago, I'd be like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like when you've been through things that really do impact your life, those things like, selling a house is stressful, or your car, you know, breaking down. So it's kind of, you know, but it's not a major thing. It's just a process that you go through to sort out.
It is. And there's no point of worrying about or stressing about stuff you have no control over. And you just realise that you just need, you just got to let the small crap go, because there's always a solution. Like, I know it's silly, we're having our kitchen redone and Rich was like, oh my God, we're having a wall knocked down and there's a radiator on that wall. And he's like, oh my God, we're going to lose the radiator. And I'm like, seriously, it's a radiator, we'll find a new home for it. No, it can't go anywhere else, it's got to go there. And I'm like, well, we'll just have a freestanding one where the wall was and it'll be at the end of the cupboard. He's like, oh yeah, never thought of that. And I think sometimes when you get so wound up about the smallest things, you can't think. And it's just, I kind of don't get stressed out about stuff anymore.
That's right. I think it's, and that's the kind of gratitude piece, really. You don't want to have gone through such terrible times, but actually it makes you realise, you think, or you hear other people going on about, I don't know if my tolerance has gone with other people. You know, when people are like moaning about all these different things, I think, God, you just haven't got a clue. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
Well, what you're stressing about is nothing, but you kind of understand that that's how you probably were before you had this thing. So there's that understanding piece. But
I always think, you know, when I talk to people about what's happened to us over the last 2 years, you know, they kind of look at me and go, oh my God, seriously. But then I say to them, there are people out there that are in worse situations than what I am. You know, we are all healthy. We live in a lovely house, got lovely cars. I've got a great business. Rich has got a nice job now because he went back to work in February. There isn't really much. And I think, to be fair, you know, whoever wants to throw any more crap at me, they're more than welcome, because you know what, I can deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really inspiring listening to you though, because I think, like, I know you're probably thinking, oh, we just had to do it, there was no other choice, you just had to get on with it. But you know, you, like you say, you have got, you know, your business is still thriving, you've got, you know, your nice house, cars, I see you go on holiday. You've survived through this whole thing, and I know it's all a journey, and it's like it's not over yet. You know what I mean? It's like it's not just because it is improved. You know, it's still this ongoing thing. Like you say, you'd have to, if you were working a job, you wouldn't be able to do it because of the appointments you've got to do.
No, exactly. Every morning I do kind of have that little thought, what am I waking up to with Beau? Because of his condition, we can have Monday morning we had a really happy Beau. He was ready to go to school, and then Tuesday, oh my God, meltdown Beau that didn't want to go to school, and it's just he just can't process stuff, and it's just you kind of you take 3 steps forward and you're taking like 10 steps back, but we just it is just dealing with one day at a time with him. And he's got lots of support in place now, but because of perseverance and making sure that I'm on it and keeping in contact with people, but he has physio that go into school. He has CAMs that go in as well that do that are looking after his mental health. It's
lucky that he's got you, because I think within the NHS system a lot of people just wait for the healthcare professionals to direct them, but you've got to fight. You have to. I felt like that with the whole police scenario. All these different sort of government systems, a lot of the processes are archaic, aren't they? And the one hand doesn't speak to the other. NHS, police. I'm sure there's other government systems as well.
Just do your research.
You've got to take ownership of your own life with whatever capacity it is, and it shouldn't really be like that. But you've got to be that leader in it. So he's really lucky that he's had you sort of like fighting for his corner, I think. So big kudos to you, because I can tell just with everything you've shared that you're just like, you've been so resilient through this, and like your self-care matters as well. It's like I've realized my self-care has been my superpower. Even if when I felt guilty, I'm like, right, that's it, I'm going away for a weekend.
And you have to
you have to take some time for your recovery to release it, like amongst your friends, or just get away. And
or even if it's just like you say, there's some days I just look at my diary and kind of go, Joe, what, I'll move that to tomorrow, and I'm going to go and watch a film, or I'm going to go and watch a TV program, or go for a walk. And you can't feel guilty about that. And it is a little bit easier for me because I haven't got a boss that I'm I've got to kind of, but it is about, that's what freedom is, isn't it? When you work for yourself, you've got that opportunity to have your own day. And it's been an interesting 18 months, 2 years, but it's nice to kind of see that we're going in the right direction now. What the future holds, I don't know. What the future holds for Beau, I've no idea, but we'll embrace it when it happens.
Exactly. So for people who don't know you in your business capacity, because I know that you're a badass online entrepreneur, just share with everybody what you do, because maybe women listen to this that are like, oh God, I need a bit of Sam, and she needs to help me. So let us know.
I'm a social media expert stroke coach. I teach people or businesses how they can have increase their sales, income, and get new clients through their social media and online marketing. I also teach and coach social media psychology. I have an agency where we do social media for people that can't be bothered to do it themselves. And I also teach people how to start up their own social media business. That freedom.
That's what I thought you did. That's what I was waiting for, because I'm sure I've seen something recently. I'm just, because I think that's great at this current climate. There's loads of people that have just had enough after the pandemic, giving up their job or whatever and gone it alone, or maybe doing freelance work. I say to some of my Amazon students that they're learning a skill, and as they're growing their Amazon business, and they're hungry to get the outcome, because a lot of the time you reinvest your profits into growing the brand, and you can't take that much out as an income at the beginning. But you've got learning a skill set, you do consultancy or freelance work for different things. So I think what you're doing with that is hugely valuable right now.
Oh, it's great. And I've just started working with 5 amazing ladies who are all mums. One's currently on maternity leave, doesn't want to go back. One's a nurse and she's getting stressed out because of the hours that she works for, what, pittance. She does an amazing job, but it's like she said, with everything going up, we can't afford a holiday next year. You know, I'm working with a mum that who needs to find a work because her little boy's going to preschool next year, someone that's current business is just not working for them. And it's lovely working with these ladies, because last week I was just chatting to them and just saying, you know, this is what this business can give you. You've seen what it can do, what it's done for me. It can do exactly the same for you. And I think it's really given them hope. And that's what I love. That's what I love doing, is just giving that opportunity.
I also think, like, I was recently thinking that there may be coaches out there, you know, like people who are really focusing more on the life coach thing, that start struggling next year and are trying to have like other strings to their bow. They could also want to have like a social media part to their business, where they help their clients. Because I was thinking that there may be people who, because you may have seen I did a lot around Amazon books, there may be people who want to teach that and help their clients get their business book done on Amazon. You know, it could be, I often sit there having these ideas, but I think what you do is that, you know, anyone that's listening to this that's maybe starting a business that's not getting the results, or ready to take the foot off the edge of the cliff. Yeah, I started my online journey doing a lot of Facebook marketing. That was my thing, you say. And I think it's one of those good things to learn when you first start your business, anything to do with any social media platform. And it helped me do consultancy work for offline businesses. And then I just sort of stumbled across Amazon, if I'm really honest. But, you know, knowing and learning all that marketing, having that marketing background really then helped me with physical products. So I think it's a great way to start. And
it opens up so many doors. It really does. Yeah.
Definitely reach out to Sam, because she is the person that knows all of them. She is the expert to go to. What is the best way to reach out to you, Sam, as well?
Oh God, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Yeah, so Samantha Cameron Social. If you literally just Google Samantha Cameron Social, you'll find me. You will find me. My SEO is pretty good.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. And we'll put all Sam's links. If you're listening to us on iTunes or any of the podcasting channels, you'll see all Sam's details in the show notes. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hello, you'll see in the comment section all Sam's details, so you can reach out to her. So it's been brilliant having you on the show, and also want to thank you, because I do think it's quite vulnerable sharing. And for me, when I share my story, sometimes it takes us back into those moments. We revisit it. You know, to take that energy out of us, our emotions out of us. So I know what it takes to sort of share the journey that you've been on. I really, really appreciate it, because I do think it really helps people who are listening. I'm coming to the big question now. I always ask everybody, and on the birthday episode, we chopped and changed the answer to this from different shows. What does freedom mean to you, Sam?
Okay, freedom to me is having that balance in life where you can have time for yourself, time with the family, and you're not running around like a headless chicken, like thinking, oh, I've got to go and do this and I've got to do that. It is about having that chilled lifestyle, and you know what, and just living life to the max, really. Because I know so many people saying it's quite cheesy. You only get one shot of this, don't you? So look back and create memories, and I think that's what freedom means to me. We actually I said to Rich last week, I said, I feel like we have harmony in the house now, because everybody is kind of happy, and we're kind of getting back to normal. And I think that's, when you know you can smile and just be happy with everything, I think that's what freedom is for me.
Yeah, definitely. I love that answer. I think that's so spot on. It's been great having you on the show, and it's great to connect with you as well. I know you've got your podcast that's soon going to be launched, though. Yeah,
going to be launching that in the new year, sharing more about Beau's journey, and just really talking more about mental health issues, not just with children but with parents, and how it affects everybody. So launching that in January.
Exciting. Brilliant. All right, well, great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And speak to you soon.
See you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And if you want to get more freedom in your life, then come and join Your Freedom Project Facebook group, which the link is below in the comments section. And I am giving you a copy of my visualization manifesting book. So manifest more freedom in your life and live the life of your dreams.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.